What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, you know time. It is time for another mock draft Monday. This week, 12-team, full PPR league, 3 wide receivers, a setup that I really like. Still not going to go with the kicker, 7 bench spots. We can make it a little bit deeper, talk about some players going a little bit later in drafts. One decision I have to make, and you guys can let me know what you think of this decision, and I can change it in next week's mock draft, and also talking about next week's draft. For those of you in auction leagues, over the next week, I'm going to do like an auction draft, I guess, and show that on the screen. And we'll still do the mock draft Monday the same as normal, but I'll also talk about the auction league and just different strategies we could use in that, how I'm kind of seeing things. But that's something I'll have to like build out over the next week, and then we'll talk about it next week. So just the normal draft this one, talk about auction next time. But in the comment section of this video, let me know if I should be clicking this box. I'm going to today. We'll see how things work off. The vast majority of you play in Yahoo, play on ESPN, play on NFL.com. I wish they would kind of add Sleeper in here as well. So it makes sense to add these in. But basically, here are the rankings. So if you went to Fantasy Pros and you just click View, it'll pop up what they're using for the pre-draft rankings. And I was kind of thinking about this on and off because I was like, okay, some of these are stupid. Like some of these don't even make sense. If you're playing on ESPN and Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce go 29 and 30, so that's going to be factored into this. And so I'm going back and forth like, okay, do I use this if it doesn't even like make a whole lot of sense at times? But like right now I'm thinking yes, because like we're not that far away from drafts happening. And some of you are going to be drafting right now. And so if I'm building something that's like, what is a realistic outcome for a draft right now? Well, we should probably factor in the pre-draft rankings of the 3 major platforms, because that's going to influence where people get drafted. And they're not all egregious. If you scroll through them, like they, for the most part, some of these do make sense. And so what I want to do in this one is, oh, and this also, this is like the ECR's ADP, and even those aren't like totally fine. Like this is supposed to be the most accurate ADP in the industry. That's what it's supposed to be right now. But like Cooper Kupp at 6, like I don't know if that, this is filtered by PPR. I don't know if that really ends up happening. Like I think there's still things that are wrong in these. So I think if we have this combined with what the sites are using, we should get a good simulation of what drafts are looking like. But what I'll do is if I see things that are egregious, and like I'm not always going to notice it, but if I see things that are just absolutely just stupid, I'll try and change them for the opponent so that our team can be a little bit more realistic. For those of you who are like, we'll just do like a, like a live mock draft, I can, but to be able to do the things that I do in these drafts, to talk about different players, talk about strategies, it just isn't as good. And then I also can't, like visually, I think this site just has the best setup visually. So I think this is still the best setup. Definitely when we get into doing these in mid-August, I mean, if pre-draft rankings are still bad, if ECR is still bad, I don't know what to tell you. Like you're just going to crush your drafts because people are going to be using ECR. They're going to be using the pre-draft rankings. So with all of that being said, we're doing a full PPR 12-team league. We're going from the 12 spot. I believe that's because I checked and it like ended. Oh no, people wanted me to talk about like turn strategy. And I didn't want to do one because I feel like you don't need as much strategy from like the 101 because like you're just gonna have like a really strong build. The 12 is a little bit tougher to do well in, and so we'll talk about turn strategy in this one, kind of what to do at these turns. I don't know that I want to change anything here. The system does know to attack wide receiver more heavily because we added in the spot. I don't want to boost running back because wide receiver is going to be more aggressively targeted. If anything, we can touch quarterback. Maybe we can make that like high. Because I do think people draft quarterbacks high this year, but I'm not going to change anything else. Oh my goodness, there's a sponsor for Fantasy Pros now. I wonder how much that whoa, we did something. Hold on. We're probably going to have to go back and change something here. Oh, you know what we probably did? We probably left the 2 quarterback league in from what we did the first time. Let's go back to the simulator. Very slight delay. No, oh yeah, there it is. We're not doing a super flex league anymore. Everything else the same. All right, now let's see what we end up with. So this will be interesting. A lot of times you want double running back in this spot when you're at the turn because typically you have like Kupp, Jefferson, Chase definitely off the board, and then Diggs goes, maybe Adams goes there, and so it's a common spot to be like, oh, there's not as much wide receiver value. I actually talked about this on the last Wednesday's video, kind of a strategy from this spot of the draft. You get to the running backs, and you're like, all right, well, our top end's not here. We got McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor off the board, Eckler, Henry, Najee, Dalvin Cook, Swift, and it's like, you just missed out on a lot of players. So I went over in that video how there's no real answer to what you should be doing. I think that no matter how you start, you can still finish things off. When you look back, maybe you got lucky in the middle rounds and it works out that you should have done something differently earlier on. But I think at the end of the day, if you went running back, if you wanted to go Kelsey Adams, if you wanted to go Mixon Adams, Mixon Kelsey, I don't think there's some correct answer. But in a full PPR 3 wide receiver league, you can be a little bit less aggressive towards running back early on because there's less value there. They take up less starting spots every single week. You can be more willing to start your Gainwells, your Nyheim Hines as fill-ins, and so you have a little bit more value kind of there, which sucks away value from the high-end running back. So there's different things you can definitely do. What we'll do in this one, let's just look at what the rankings have, and we can talk about that. So the rankings say Adams is definitely someone that we should draft. He's 6th overall. And then Kelsey is actually at 13. Lamb is before Kelsey, so it says that we should go Adams and Lamb, and then no running backs. So it does not say running back should be our pick here. First running back is actually that Aaron Jones Mixon range, but they're early second-round picks. They should be going right here. So I think I won't take Mixon. I won't take Aaron Jones. I'll take 2 non-running back positions. Do I want to take we're going to take Adams, so we'll just do that. Do I want to take Kelsey, or do I want to take CeeDee Lamb? I've done a lot of early tight end builds and shown you guys that, and I showed you a team of that in the breakdown. I think I literally took Adams and Kelsey. So I want to start off wide receiver here to see how things shape out, especially because I feel like maybe Lamb's not getting all the love in the world because he's been hyped up in the past and he's been good but hasn't been truly dominant. But Mari Cooper's gone. Gallup has basically said it's unrealistic to think he'll be healthy to start the season. It's Lamb. It's James Washington. It's Tolbert. It's Lamb. Lamb was just, he could go out there and have 120 and 2 scores, and then 150 and a score, and then 102 scores. And he could just dominate the first month of the season, be clear number 1. That's in his range of outcomes. So a phenomenal pick there. Adams, Lamb. Okay. Let's talk about what happened now. Actually, things look good. So Gibson went a little bit too early. James Conner, no, I actually think that's kind of where he ends up going. Breece Hall maybe squeaks in to the 4th round, but I have seen him go in this 3rd round spot. But in general, this makes sense. So I think we did a good thing in kind of bringing in ECR along with some of these pre-draft rankings. So for those of you listening on Spotify, which, a nice little shout out, if you guys follow on either iTunes or Spotify, that giveaway is still going on through Wednesday. I think maybe Wednesday night, I'll probably pull that together. So if you follow the podcast on either one of them, leave a review. Some of you guys are tweeting the reviews. I literally just meant leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and you can't even do that on Spotify. So just the rating is totally fine. If you want to go to Spotify, follow the podcast, leave a rating, tweet it at me. You don't need a review on Twitter or something like that. Just tweet me a screenshot of you doing that, and you'll be entered into a giveaway. 3 people, I'll tweet it out Wednesday night, are going to get all in on the site. And if you already had all in, then you're just going to get it refunded. So it'll be for free this season. But yeah, it's fantasy football advice on either Spotify or on iTunes. But for those of you listening, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews both go in the 2nd round. The only other wide receivers after we go, Deebo Samuel, end of round 2, Tyreek Hill, end of round 2. Then there was a run at wide receiver in the 3rd round, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, Pittman, and Marquise Brown. Running backs, heavy. So I'm expecting to kind of see a big drop off at running back when I look in a second. But Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Barkley, Fournette, Kamara, Javonte Williams, all going round 2, still in round 3. Connor, Gibson, Akers, Hall, and Zeke. So that is a lot of talent off the board. We'll pull up our cheat sheet here, and we will hide the drafted players. Looking at things, it's too early for quarterback. Just to give you a reference, right now, we would literally have to wait until the 5th round to be wanting to draft these quarterbacks, given the full PPR 3 wide receiver rankings on the site. Again, quarterback value. Let's just think about. Okay, here's a quarterback take. It's probably gonna be a long video for you guys, but I think it's a lot of good information. When you think about value, think about changing from a format that doesn't favor wide receiver in like standard. Quarterback value is gonna be higher because, especially if you have only 2 starting wide receiver spots, you have to start the quarterback and the 2 wide receivers, and the wide receivers don't get the benefit of like a full point for every catch. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So the quarterbacks have a lot of value because their points relative to the wide receivers are way higher. You add in a 3rd wide receiver spot. You give them an extra point for every catch. Quarterbacks are scoring the same. So they haven't changed, but the value of wide receivers skyrocketed. So that's why some people will look at the 3 wide receiver rankings and be like, why are quarterbacks so low? It's because wide receivers shoot up because they're so much more valuable. And that's why it's so important to use 3 wide receiver specific rankings. If you're in a league that starts 3 wide receivers, many people will just print off normal rankings because most sites, almost all sites, don't give you 3 wide receiver rankings. And they'll print that off and be like, oh, it's fine to do so. No, it's not fine to do that. And you can crush a draft. You guys should probably ask your league to do 3 wide receivers because you can crush a draft because no one's going to change their drafting style or they're going to very lightly change it. But they should be skyrocketing these wide receivers earlier because it's such an edge. If you can have 4 dominant wide receivers in a full PPR league that starts 3 and can't start 4, it's just such an edge. So there's a little spiel on that and why quarterback value changes. But yeah, Herbert and Mahomes would be like late 4th, early like 5th round picks, and we're not even like close to that point. So there now. If we look at Pitts, I have Pitts at 30. So we're at 36. Pitts is a good pick, and we have the double here. So we have the opportunity to grab him along with another player. I usually use that like tight end spot as like luxury. It's like if I see value somewhere else, I'll take it. But like it feels like a luxury pick here if we wanted to draft Pitts. But I like Waller as well, and I think there's also a chance that Waller could fall here. So we have to keep that in the back of our mind too. What else could we be getting? At running back, Dave Montgomery, Travis Etienne, only 2 that we're considering at this spot. If I look at the running back rankings, it looks like Etienne is at 33, and then Dave Montgomery is at 406. So he would be a slight reach. So I don't think we're going to double dip. It would be an option for us. We already have Adams. We already have Lamb. We could double dip at running back. Feel pretty good about both. But given what we also see at wide receiver, I mean, A.J. Brown's an absolute stud. DJ Moore's a stud. Deontay Johnson, Waddle. I mean, these are guys that like I want to be getting on my team. To take 2 running backs here, I just can't see it happening. A.J. Brown I have at 26. That's the 302. We're at the 312. We're at pick 36. That's really good value. DJ Moore would be the next available because Pittman is gone. He's at 32. So the rankings say take A.J. Brown and Pitts. And I'm leaning towards that. There's just something in the back of my mind that's like, can I get Darren Waller at 512 or 601? Because if I could double dip here at wide receiver, like it'd be a very interesting RB0 build to double dip at wide receiver. Take like A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, and then I could get Darren Waller after that. I am loaded at wide receiver and tight end. And I think I can figure out running back after that. So it's in the back of my mind. My issue is what happens if that doesn't occur? What if there is a run at the tight end position? All the top 5 are gone, which means I'm probably just waiting until the end, maybe double dipping there. Now I can't take wide receiver value because I'd be taking 5 in a row. That wouldn't make sense. I might not want the quarterback value, and so I'd be forced to double dip at running back. And that may lock us into a box that I don't want to be in. Because maybe we have to double dip between like A.J. Dillon and Miles Sanders. Maybe it's even worse than that, and it's like Chase Edmonds and Clyde. And if I'm just doing that to risk tight end, I don't know that I want to. So thinking that through, I don't think we're going to take the risk. We'll take A.J. Brown. We'll take Kyle Pitts. We'll hope for our sake in looking back that Kittle and Waller are gone. We will very likely look at running back at the next round. We don't need to double dip because we'll have the opportunity to still draft a wide receiver that would be in our starting lineup. Do one running back, one wide receiver. That is how things are looking for me right now. So, draft A.J. Brown, bring up Kyle Pitts, draft him, and let's see what ends up happening. Very unfortunately, it looks like Darren Waller's there. Oh my goodness, and a big run at wide receiver. This is, oh my goodness, and Kittle went right for us. Okay, so we end up going. Patrick Mahomes goes 4'11". Lamar Jackson goes 5'08". We are now at that 5th round spot where I said that's where quarterback should be going. And I have Herbert at 6'06". So close. It's not a great value, but it's there. So that's in consideration for us. I'm very upset. Maybe we should have been more risky. And that actually is something that I think about, especially in like a hometown draft. Sometimes you want to just take that chance that something's going to work out, because when it does, you're just like, oh my goodness, like I've practically like won this league. Like I can just, sometimes you take a chance and you're like, oh my goodness, Waller's here in the 7th round. Like, what are these people doing? I'm getting insane value. But I don't know. I kind of feel like we're good enough at drafting that I usually take that chance at like just take the tight end early sometimes, because let's be honest, we know running backs late. We know wide receivers late. We know the quarterbacks late that are probably going to be solid. Do we really know the tight ends late that are going to be good? I mean, any sort of analysis that goes into tight end position, it's like this whole range of like, honestly, 6 through 9 is like a little bit better, but 10 through 20, they're all fine. They're all whatever. Like, there's no really extra analysis needed. Like, they're all going to be okay. It's whoever gets lucky for touchdowns. So grab that early tight end. Know that we can outdraft people at wide receiver. We can outdraft people at running back later and build a team that is just like stronger overall. I don't know, just a take. But yeah, all right, let's bring up the cheat sheet. Let's look at who's on the board. So we're not going tight end, unfortunately, Waller's still there. Wide receiver, Darnell Mooney. You guys know I am in love with him this season. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think he fits well with Justin Herbert. This is a position or a format that really values wide receivers. He could be top 7 in targets this season. I mean, he's just awesome. He's fantastic. I was looking at Allen Robinson. Where'd he go? I really am starting to just like fall in love with him. He just goes a little bit before us, like 2 picks before us. Would have absolutely drafted him. Mooney is somewhere, and I'm trying to find where he is in the rankings. Okay, 4'11". So a round of value for Mooney. He'd be a really good pick. Amon St. Brown would be a good pick here. But there's honestly another of good picks. I definitely wouldn't go with 2 wide receivers. We already have a billion of them. I'll pull up the rosters on the left here. Again, Adams, Lamb, A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts. Jeez, I'm crow. That's studs. Okay. Running back. I'm curious to see how much we're reaching here in the value of running back, because running back kind of hits a run. But yeah, they hit a run a little bit later on. So it is A.J. Dillon. But I have A.J. Dillon at 72. That's the 6'12". So I don't really have a pick that matches up with that. Like I'm at 5'12 and 6'01. So it'd be a reach there. Goodness. Part of me wants to just draft Herbert and Darnell Mooney and just be like, all right, guys, let's figure out running back later on. Let's take a bunch of high upside players, a few pass catchers, and just be like, everything else is going to be rock solid for us. We're going to shred everywhere else. Part of me wants to do that. And Herbert at this point is just such a good value. Let's just take Herbert. I really think he should just be one of your picks here. So let's take him. Miller. What? This is weird. How much are they getting paid to like incorporate Miller? I mean, it's a good sponsorship because, given what at least I know from the demographics of people watching this video. And that's smart of Fantasy Pros to know that also they're getting that shout out for, like, this is not a sponsorability, but they're getting this sponsor from people doing the draft. Sharp of them to do, but I wonder how much they're getting paid. Anywho, Herbert, that's our pick. I really want to go with Mooney over these running backs. I just can't justify not taking the value at that spot. And I'm hoping maybe other teams have running backs. There's multiple teams with 3 running backs. They're not going to grab their 4th running back coming up here. I think a run at wide receivers coming. I think we grab Mooney. A billion wide receivers are probably going to come off the board. There's still a good wide receiver. I mean, there's a really big drop-off coming soon, so I'm glad we got our 4th one. Oh, it looks like a big run went at quarterback. All right, let's pull this up. This is interesting. Oh, wow. Okay, so not many went after we took Herbert, and that whole 6th round, none went. But after that, starting at 7, it was Kyler, Dak, Hurts, Burrow, Brady all come off the board. Darren Waller goes, Schultz goes, Hawkinson goes. Not too many running backs, but ones we care about, of course. Sanders, Clyde, Singletary, Damian Harris, and A.J. Dillon. And then a good amount of wide receivers also off the board. Didn't look like there were any egregious picks there. So no quarterback. No tight end for us. We won't be drafting them for the rest of the draft. We need running back. We don't have any, and it is the late 7th round. This is a true RB0 build, and it's very viable in this format. A lot of people ask that. Yes, it's hugely viable, but we didn't walk in thinking we were going to do it, and that is the best time to do that. Do not walk into these drafts thinking you're going RB0. Let it happen naturally. I think we let it happen pretty naturally here, so we should be happy with that. Chase Edmonds is basically a lock pick here. I don't even think there's like analysis really needed there. You're taking Chase Edmonds if he's there. Good offense. He's the one they're most invested in. Even if he doesn't get carries, I don't care in this format. He's going to have a ton of receptions. That's what I want. I kind of want Kareem Hunt as well. Oh, big news. Depending on when you're watching this, if you're one of the notification gang, you might not hear, but it is expected that we're going to know the Watson news by 9 a.m. Eastern the day you're watching this on Monday. So for, I would say 95% of the people watching this, you know what happened. Go on Twitter, see what happened with the suspension. I have seen reports that it's 4 to 8 games. Everyone's just saying things like nobody knows what's going to happen. That's what we've said all summer. Just wait and see what happens. I actually don't know all of the rules here. I know that this is like the first case that this judge has done. This judge will be doing cases brought by the NFL into these suspensions because it's like new this season. But Goodell has like some level of power. I don't know what it is. They basically just didn't want Goodell to have all of the power because before Goodell could just decide whatever he wanted. Now it is sort of up to the judge. I don't know what Goodell can do if like it comes out to 4 games, if he can extend. I actually don't know the answer to that. We'll probably find out as soon as this ruling comes down. People will be tweeting it. So just go on Twitter and just like figure that out. But the main thing here is we're going to know. And I guess there's a chance doing this draft that like it's only like an 8-game suspension. That's what comes out. And like Kareem Hunt is like a great pick here if that ends up working out. But even if it doesn't, Kareem Hunt gets his value from the receptions. He's a very, very quality player. He's obviously the number 2. This is still going to be a good offense if the suspension is like a really long time, a full season, something like that. It gets, on like roughly like a full season. We're going to have Brissett for a large period of time. And I think Hunt can still be good. They'll probably be trailing more, and so they need to use Hunt. The touchdowns may go down, but like he's just a good player. So Hunt, definitely on our minds here. Tony Pollard on our minds. Great pass catcher. Rashad Penny, honestly, if he ends up being what he was to close last season, pretty darn good value at this spot. I'll pull up the rankings and see who I have. I was just seeing if Clyde was still there. He is not. I have Pollard just ahead, 1.1 points on the entire season ahead of Kareem Hunt. So my rankings say go Tony Pollard. There's a lot of news where like it is so obvious. Zeke is the guy. Zeke's going to get a ton of touches. They're heavily invested in Zeke. They want to feed him, even though they shouldn't be. They want to. So don't think Tony Pollard's coming out there and getting a million touches. But I do project him for like one more point. I guess just part of me is thinking if it's, only a 4-game suspension, Hunt's easily the pick there. But you know what? You guys can kind of adjust. See what happens for the suspension. See what the time ends up being. And then kind of adjust these takes for that. It looks like a lot of running backs we really wanted came off the board. Yeah, there was like a lull, and then all of a sudden, whoever this team is, the Pits of Despair, They love running backs. They have Austin Eckler, Javonte Williams, Antonio Gibson, Rashad Penny, and Michael Carter. They only have Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, and Adam Thielen. Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games of the season. So they still have not drafted the third wide receiver that they're going to need to be starting. Flex, I guess, at this point is like Rashad Penny and Gibson. But like my flex wide receiver is Darnell Mooney, and your flex is Antonio Gibson. And I'd much rather have Darnell Mooney in a full PPR format. But anyways, I like how this team's turning out, but we obviously need to attack running back. So Nyheim Hines, just the slam dunk pick here. I'm thinking Madison makes sense too, just as getting that backup. Gainwell makes sense as well. I'll pull up the pure running back rankings because I'm thinking we just double dip at this spot as well. If there was a wide receiver that we really liked, we could go there. But I'm thinking we just kind of double dip at running back again. So yeah, James Cook is gone, Stevenson gone, Melvin Gordon gone, which brings us to Hines. After Hines, it looks like Rachaad White, who I don't believe has been drafted. Oh my goodness, way down there. So we'd play the ADP game with that one. Henderson, we'd probably take Henderson, and then it would be Madison. But Madison makes a lot of sense for our team because we want that upside. Obviously, we don't want to have to be starting Nyheim Hines in the championship. It's a great player in this format to use in and out of your lineup. It's fine if we have him at the running back 2 for a lot of weeks, but we need that breakout performance. And so Madison makes sense. I don't think Henderson will be there at the next pick, but it would be between Madison and Henderson. I haven't heard a lot of news about Madison. I'm just kind of assuming that he's like clearly the backup. But I think it just makes a lot of sense to go with that pick there. So we'll do that pick. When do we need to go back to wide receiver? Let's look at the team again. Adams, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Darnell Mooney. We do still want wide receivers, so I don't want to abandon it for too long. I think Gainwell has to be towards the top. Yeah, okay. So Gainwell, Algier makes sense. Darrell Williams makes sense, but Gainwell is going to be so involved. We're not double dipping at wide receiver here. Yeah, we'll take Gainwell. So another pass catcher. Nice. Looking at receiver, Jameson Williams makes sense to this team because we're definitely not going to be starting him. We're cool if he comes back in week 7 because, we're starting Adams, Lamb, Brown. Obviously, I don't care what the matchups are. We can rotate in that wide receiver, even if Mooney didn't work out, which we know he's going to work out. Yeah, Jameson Williams makes a lot of sense. Nico Collins makes sense. Kendrick Bourne, Joshua Palmer, KJ Osborne, Paris Campbell we really want on the team, Julio Jones. There's so many wide receivers we like here. But let's definitely go with ADP and go with like a really high upside pick for later in the season. A lot of those guys still on the board in the next round. I think I'm going to go with Nico Collins, clear wide receiver 2. If something happened to, Brandon Cooks, my goodness, the upside, but even the upside as the 2 here. And on this team as well, we can assume we're probably only starting 2 running backs each week. So even though we only have like Edmonds, Pollard, and we're like, oh, you only have like Hines, Madison, Gainwell like behind that, we're good to rotate in that second running back spot. We're only starting 2. We're starting 4 wide receivers each week on this team. So kind of keep that in mind there. I really want to grab, I really, really want to grab like Palmer and KJ Osborne here because they're such good picks in this range. I'd be totally fine using these guys in like that flex spot. Both of them have clear upside. Yeah, that's what I want to do because I have to start 3 wide receivers each week. If you want to go running back, Brian Robinson makes sense for like upside, Zamir White, but Tyrion Davis-Price, I think Paris Campbell also is a phenomenal pick. I think there's so many phenomenal picks still on the board here. And that's why you guys should also be in... Oh, it was the turn? I didn't know that. Wow, they're still there. The next one. But that's why you guys need to be begging your like league mates, begging your commissioner, add bench spots. get to 7, get to 8, get to 9 bench spots, get more bench spots, because if you're good at fantasy, you're using these rankings, there's going to be so many values late in the draft that you really want on your team. And if you just allow them all to sit on free agency, everyone's going to look at week 1 and be like, oh, I didn't know that Paris Campbell was going to be heavily targeted with a very high catch rate and is extremely athletic and can be really good this season. I'll get him off free agency. And you're like, oh, if we just had more bench spots, then I could easily have had him on my team. Who do I have actually between... I haven't actually posted these, so I probably shouldn't be using. I'm using the website right now. I should probably just pull up my actual rankings. But Paris Campbell's getting a slight bump in the next one I get posted, which will probably be posted when you guys are watching this in the morning. I scrolled too far. Paris Campbell is at 1103. We're at 1512. But that's actually funny. Osborne is at 147.4 points. Paris Campbell's at 145.8 points. But Campbell is going to get a very, very slight bump, and I do think that's going to put him over Osborne. So that's what we'll do. We will take Paris Campbell here. We will take whoever the top defense is. It's Rams. And I like this team. I think this team makes a lot of sense for the format. We did RB0, which is not something, especially Fantasy Pros hates RB0 builds. I've noticed that their system always favors teams that go running backs early. But I think this team makes sense. Starting lineup: Justin Herbert, Chase Edmonds, Tony Pollard, Devonta Adams, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and then the Rams defense and the bench: Nyheim Hines, Kenneth Gainwell, Alexander Mattison, Jameson Williams, Nico Collins, Joshua Palmer, Paris Campbell. High upside wide receivers. A lot of really great things could happen with Campbell, with Palmer, with Nico, with Jameson. I love that on the bench. I love having Nyheim Hines and Gainwell because I think, throw them in there this season. They'll get a few receptions each week. I will have that stable floor if I need to rotate them in running back 2. I didn't go heavy and running back on the bench because I know I'm only starting 2 each week. I grabbed some upside with Madison. I grabbed 2 running backs that I know are going to be involved, going to catch passes, in Edmonds and Pollard, and I just took value everywhere else. Get, arguably the second best quarterback in fantasy in Justin Herbert. Grab 3 absolute stud wide receivers. Pitts could have a phenomenal year. I like this team a lot. I think this is a format you could follow. And for many of the people who have asked me every single week, yes, you can go RB0 if it happens naturally in a full PPR format, and especially if you can start through wide receivers. So, if you want access to these rankings on the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com, make sure you do the giveaway that's going to end Wednesday night. All you got to do, follow the podcast on either Spotify or iTunes, leave a rating if it's on iTunes. On Spotify, you can just do a review, and I will pick 3 of you who are going to win all-in access to the website. That, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button, and how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.